Hello, and welcome back to Firesense Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on Suzerain. The last time out, we dealt with a whole bunch of nonsense. We went to a terrible movie, which is some weird, convoluted religious ceremony, and got to deal with our idiot son failing his college entrance exams. So today, we're going to go and pick it up here, meeting with Justice Isabel. But first off, let's check out this newspaper here. Alright, from the Lockhaven Times. The President attends the Day of Dissension. As part of the grand ceremony, the Day of Dissension has begun with festivities in Deer. President Rain is in attendance along with His Holiness the Archbishop, who together perform the sacred ritual. The momentous occasion was celebrated by everyone, regardless of their rank and status. Sordland has once again felt unity amidst chaos, to come together, forget their differences, and celebrate the Word of God. Coolio. Hopefully that placated some idiots so we can get some extra votes later on. Alright, now let's go meet with the Justice here. Me and Morgana had arranged a dinner meeting with Justice Isabel Edmonds this evening. Ahead of this dinner, Nia and I met to have a talk. We settled on a table on the second floor of Le Papillon, a world-class lesbian restaurant in downtown Holsword. The whole floor was reserved for us, and the music coming from downstairs was enough to guard our voices from potential eavesdroppers. I still can't believe us all came to vote. I'm sure he also pressured the justices of the court against the proposal right after that win. I hate to be on his side, but I don't agree with your proposal either. You call this proposal democratic, but we know it's a power grab, Mr. President. I'm only doing this out of respect. I've organized this meeting because I'm still part of the cabinet. Consider this a favor from my side. I'm disappointed, Mr. Morgana. I thought I'd be able to change your mind. I believe my position was clear from the beginning. But anyway, let me know if there's something else. I'd be taking my leave as soon as Mrs. Edmonds gets here. What about Justice Edmonds? Does she share your views? Somewhat, yes. We are not ideologically entirely aligned, but she still someone has a sense of justice. She's not openly protesting against the old guard, but she has told me about her concerns about them. She's certainly open to dialogue, but also skeptical. She seemed to be scared of a potential purge against the court. Let's see. Yeah, maybe we can find common ground against the old guard. Having common enemies doesn't always result in an alliance, as you know. Okay, well, what's the atmosphere in the court? Most justices don't really talk when I'm around. They don't trust me as I'm an outside member of the court. I only know about 2 justices I mentioned earlier who are with me, so we have the 3 votes there, against you. You still need 6 votes from somewhere. Isabel could potentially bring 2 to 3 votes, that's why she's your ticket, but I doubt it'll work out. The old guards are fanatically opposing a proposal too. Well, what about Heron? Oh, now you want to cooperate with the old guards after all? At least in Peter believe they can be persuaded too. Whatever you do, I'm not with you. Alright, well, what's that old goat Orso been doing? He's doing his best to organize a court against your proposal. The weakest link is Heron, but the rest are unbreakable. Well, we need to talk to Heron then. Well, I'm not helping with that. Your openness to talk to Heron has already shown me your true intentions. What, being willing to talk to anybody to try to get my proposal through? This lady's an idiot. When will Isabel be here? She looked at her watch. Guess we have maybe 5 minutes? The waiter approached us and bowed in respects. Did you decide on the entree, sir? We have a guest coming. We'll wait for her to order. Of course, sir. I'll be around. He went downstairs again. Mr. President, I know it's too late, but you're making a mistake. You've sent an opportunity to change the Constitution for the better right into the trash, and I can't believe that you also... Suddenly, I noticed Justice Isabel Edmonds coming upstairs. She was wearing a plain, dark grey dress that hid most of her features. Oh, good to see you, Mrs. Edmonds. Nia got up from her chair to shake Isabel's hand. I stood up and shook her hand. Mr. President, good to see you. Good to see you, Justice Edmonds. She took a seat across the table. How's your day, Mrs. Edmonds? I would normally say good, but this time I'll take the liberty to say that it was insanely exhausting. Heavy court matters again, not that I'm complaining. Oh, I know that feeling. But now that you're here, I'll take my leave. I've business to take care of. Have a nice evening, Mr. President, Mrs. Edmonds. She shook our hands and left the room. Suddenly, the waiter approached us. Are you ready to give the order, sir, madam? Okay, let's see. So this is where we gotta start making some weird choices. What was on the menu? For the entree, we have the options of sauté perlaise with Lesbian-style zabla, flamenco-style liver fricassee, or salad luca made of fresh vegetables and herbs from southern Lesbia. Okay. So, for whatever reason, we have to pick the salad here, so I'll have salad luco. I'll have the same, thank you. And I think I just ruined your voice, but it's okay. Whatever. He quickly took a couple notes in his tiny notebook. I'll be back shortly. He went back downstairs, leaving us alone on the upper floor again. Okay, let's see. So the guide says to ask how the court is, so how's the situation in the Supreme Court? Let's just say busy. She moved herself on the chair to be more comfortable. First of all, I want to congratulate you on the successful vote in the Grand National Assembly. It pains me to say that your proposal has a very low chance of getting through the Supreme Court. Okay. And what do you think about the proposal itself? To start with, I think it's disrespectful. You're packaging it as a democratic reform, and it smells like an attack against the Supreme Court. You know it's true, Mr. President. You're aiming to destroy the courts, and you need us to do so. Why should I vote for a proposal that would take away my immunity as a justice? Was this promised reform, removing justice however you see fit? You're expanding the powers of the President, which is already very powerful. Okay, so we need to emphasize the balance of power. So, we need proper balance of power, Mrs. Edmonds. Try to see the bigger picture. Proper? You're already trying to take our right to vote to constitutional legislature and also open a way to impeach us, are you not? She sighed. At that moment, the waiter came back from downstairs, carrying plates of food. After seeing that we were in the midst of a discussion, he averted his eyes as he approached us. He quickly started serving the food and refilled our glasses. He placed a plate of salad luca in front of me. It looked very fresh and smelled of olive oil. I was very hungry. Bon appetit! The waiter bowed to us and quickly went downstairs. We wished each other good meals. Isabel started to eat. The food here was insanely delicious. It's a salad. How good can it be? Isabel took a sip from water and turned to me. Tell me, Mr. President, what are your real intentions? Okay. So we are going for a better democracy. Yes. We need a better democracy. That's all I'm striving for. Better democracy by limiting the justices whenever you want, by binding the courts of the Assembly to do their bidding? Why did you include that in the proposal, knowing that you need our vote? Let's see. Respectable justices are against the old guard. There we go. I thought that you'd agree to that. I believe that respectable justices like you are against the old guard. Look, I'm in opposition and I'm definitely stand against the dominance, but this is not the way. But let's say this proposal goes through. What will be our next move? Okay, transparency. Okay. To ensure the new processes are respected and executed in transparency. I see. Isabel took another sip from water, looked at me without saying anything. Okay, we need to be together. Mrs. Edmonds, please help us achieve this victory. We have to be together in this. Perhaps it is a way we must take. Can you explain to me one thing? How can we think that the Supreme Court's right to vote on constitutional amendments is a major problem with such priority? Okay. Man, this guide is like super long for this section. Okay, so the current constitution has judiciary's power over legislation. Yeah, okay, it's that one. The judiciary should not have legislative powers, Mrs. Edmonds. So that is your position, I see. I don't know what to say, Mr. President. I want the old guard gone as much as you, but I'm torn about this proposal. Okay. Don't be. We are together in this. This will open the way for further reforms, too. Mr. President, I'm also wondering, if you were in Saul's position, how would you have structured the Supreme Court? What do you even believe is its role? So, the model of the Supreme Court is a defender of the Constitution. Strike down unconstitutional laws. Yep, so that one, okay. It must have the power of judicial review and to strike down laws that are against the Constitution. So what do you think about the judicial review? Okay. Okay, so I need to... Yeah, engage in judicial review, necessary practice. Okay, so I'm going to guess it's that one. It plays a central role in ensuring that each branch of government recognizes the limits of its own power. Precisely. I'm glad we agree on that. Isabel went on to finish the remainder of her salad. I still have great concerns about making every president a member of honor. That title was created for Saul to protect himself, and that's only dangerous. This will also be a huge burden on the government to take care of every ex-president's lavish lifestyles. Okay, and... need this one. I disagree. Saul wasn't in any trouble after he resigned. I think we deserve this title. She coughed. Right. She took a sip from her glass. Okay, I don't think it matters too much, so... let's just go with this one. Please, Isabel, this vote means a lot to us. Okay, let me finish, Mr. President. I think I can get behind this proposal. That's great to hear. I think I can get you the votes you need. I'll do my best to convince my group, but I can only speak for myself. Thank you. I see that we're all finished with our meals too. I think it's time to conclude this meeting. Thank you for inviting me here, Mr. President. Yes, thank you very much for coming. She stood up and shook my hand. Isabel took her coat and walked downstairs. It was time to think about the other options if I wanted to pass this constitution. I got in the presidential Cadilla, and Serge started driving me home. On the way, I received a call on the brand new radiophone that was mounted in our vehicle. It was Casaro Keebner. His voice was very difficult to understand through the static. Mr. President, I hope your meeting went well. I have some good news for you. Mr. Garachi has agreed to meet with you, as long as the meeting is not documented and kept hidden. I will try to arrange something. Would you be able to meet with him outside of the capital? He said it would be safer. Okay. Don't think it matters too much, so... that's good news. I'll leave the arrangement up to you. Understood. Leave that up to me. I'll let you return to your duties now. Good evening. The line dropped dead. Sweet. Alright. Journal entry here saying that we convinced Isabel. Cool. Alright, looks like this is the only thing on the map. So, let's go meet with Justice Heron. It was yet another sunny day, and I was facing another important political figure, Heron Garachi. Casaro Keebner convinced him to have a meeting with me just before the court vote. We scheduled to meet outside of Holzord in the Gentlemen's Club of Pater and Earlery, where we could have some privacy. I grabbed a drink and sat down on the balcony of the villa overlooking his vast garden. Heron sat next to me in his beige check suit, took off his white trilby. Ah, very nice location you've set up here, Mr. President. A gentleman's club, huh? Cool, looks like this will be easy enough, so yeah, just go with this. We thought this was supposed to be fitting. Yes, fitting. He straightened himself. So, Mr. President, you went a long way to make something possible. I'd pay you the respect. Please do speak of your intentions and how I could be of assistance to you. Alright, so all we have to do is ask for his help. So, we need your help with the upcoming vote. I'm prepared to do that, as long as we help each other. He puffed himself up. I can help you beyond this vote. Wouldn't you want to have a Chief Justice who'd be sympathetic to your concerns? Doesn't it sound nice? So, you want to take Orso's place, huh? Is it really that unexpected? I already have reasonable support behind me. If Orso is dismissed from the courts, I can take his place and keep helping you. We must think beyond the vote, Mr. President. Promise me that you will dismiss him from the Supreme Court, and him only. I support you not only with the vote, but afterwards. Cool, and it just... all the guide says is to agree, so... yeah, sure, brah. I like the offer. It's a deal. Great to have come to an understanding. But I can now safely say that I'll do my best to have your proposal pass the court, Mr. President. He put his hat back on. Thank you for coming, Mr. Garachi. It was a fruitful meeting. We shook hands, and he left me alone with my thoughts. Awesome. Okay. So, we've got at least a couple people behind us here for the constitutional vote. So, let's go check out the results of the vote. Back at the office, I was eagerly waiting for the decision of the Supreme Court regarding our change to the Constitution. I stood up from my chair and looked out the window. Peter was with me, slouching on the couch on the right side of the office and staring at the ceiling. The whole process has been tough on all of us, but now there's nothing left to do but wait for the justices to cast their vote. What do you think, Anton? Are we going to make history today? Yes, I'm sure of it. So you trust Isabel to bring the votes? Yes, I'm sure she'll support the proposal. I certainly hope so. I guess the important person in all this is Heron. But anyway, we'll learn about the vote soon. The session must have started already. What time is it? I looked at the tall case clock in the room. It was already 20 past 11. The court's voting session was scheduled to end in 10 minutes. We have about 10 minutes. Okay, we'll soon hear about the results then. He looked worried. Maybe I shouldn't have pushed the court so much. Taking away their immunity was a bit too aggressive. I wouldn't blame them if they vote no. I had to do it, Peter. Did you, though? Anyway. He yawned and stretched out on the couch. I don't know if you noticed, but Casara's been very popular in the Assembly as of late. Our party has been supporting him on a lot of bills, some of which have already reached you. What do you make of this? I think he's a very dangerous man, Anton. We can't let him divide our party. I have no problem with bipartisan bills passing Assembly. His party only holds 40 seats, Anton, yet he manages to pass bills. Maybe we shouldn't allow our party to be so generous with what they support. Suddenly, Livy entered the room. In her hands was a large object wrapped in straw paper. It is he, Mr. President. Am I interrupting anything? It's okay, Livia. What happened? The Chief Justice sent you this. She showed me the wrapped objects. Really? From Orso Hawker? Bring it here. Yes, sir. She walked up to the table and gave it to me. I immediately started to remove the wrapping to reveal a framed photograph. It is an old black and white photograph of Tarkin's soul posing on a destroyed tank in Olzord Square. The building behind him had thousands of bullet holes on it, and a clearly readable slogan, "Victory is close," written on its walls. The date, 22 May 1929, was written in the corner with a black marker. I turned to Olivia. Did Orso say anything to you about this? No, but he's obviously trying to send you a message. Hi, Olivia. Noticing Peter on the couch, Olivia reddened slightly. She gave a small wave, which Peter returned. That's not suspicious at all. Mr. Vice President, I'll be leaving now. As soon as she left the room, Peter came up next to me and took a look at the photograph. Nice present. This must be some kind of a message. Victor will be close, huh? Orso's getting ahead of himself. Suddenly, Lucian rushed into the room.
Mr. President, the vote has been concluded.
We immediately gathered around him.
Congratulations, sir. Constitutional changes are finalized, with 6 justices voting for the proposal.
Yes! Peter jumped up and down like a little kid. Congratulations, Anton! This is a historic moment, Anton. We've changed Sol's Constitution in 1929. I am without words. This is just the beginning. Hell yes it is. Peter approached to give me a hug. We hugged each other. You did well, Anton.
Congratulations, sir. Today is a big day. You must also start preparing a speech to announce the changes, sir. I'll go ahead and reach out to the cabinet. We can celebrate this together over a meeting.
All of us immediately got to work to plan our next steps after our Supreme Court victory. Cool, and we got an achievement for that. Nice. I like to see it. Alright, looks like we've got a couple things here. Anything on the map other than that one? Nope. Sweet. Alright, let's look at the country overview. Wow, okay. Active policies, we got our pocket vetoes. Nice. Actually, let me read that. Pocket veto. New constitution will allow the Grand National Assembly to override a veto with a supermajority. However, the president may decide to act on the bill at the moment of his choosing. So in other words, I can sit on a bill as long as I want to and they can't do anything about it. Fantastic. Alright, appointment of ministers required at the Assembly. The president may nominate ministers. Said ministers will require a confidence vote from the Grand National Assembly for their appointment. And we bumped the election threshold up to 15%. We now have stronger presidential decrees that have priority over statute laws made by the Grand National Assembly, with presidential decrees not subject to judicial review. Wow, okay. Justices are now able to be impeached by the president. Member of honor law, title, I should say, for all presidents. And constitution amendments require assembly. Awesome. Well, that's a nice, terrible new constitution we passed. I love it. Alright, check out the newspapers. We got 4 of them here. First up from the Whole Sword Post. New Constitution. After the Grand National Assembly's approval of the proposed changes to the Constitution, the Supreme Court also voted in favor of the new Constitution on Friday, making the changes official. The new Constitution replaces several of the major sections that were seen as unchangeable, and which many swords saw as owing its origins to the military rule of Colonel Sarkeen Sold from back in 1829. One of the key changes was taking the Supreme Court's vote on constitutional changes, allowing the Grand National Assembly of Sordland to make changes to the Constitution without the Supreme Court's approval. This is a triumph for all swords who love this country and its unity, said Casaro Keebner. Although some observers expressed disappointment that the new changes do not reflect the will of the people, many U.S. peace supporters reacted with jubilation in public spaces across Sordland on Friday night. Nice. Alright. From Sordland today, much-awaited changes here. The new changes to the Sordland Constitution are approved and made official by the Supreme Court on Friday. The biggest change is probably the new constitutional amendment process, which will not include the Supreme Court's vote in order to make changes to the Constitution, giving the Assembly the proper legislative power it deserved. The Constitution also brings limits to the previously absolute presidential vetoes, allowing the Assembly to bypass the President's decision if they gather enough support. These much-awaited changes are celebrated by millions of Sordland citizens who flocked to the streets in support for the new Constitution. While some of the opposition talked about the concerns, most of Sordland is showing their respect for President Rain, who managed to succeed in the unthinkable, changing the Constitution of Tarkeen Sol. Alright, Lockhaven Times. What will happen to the courts? Many are asking what the new changes to the Constitution will mean for the Supreme Court. Recently, the government passed legal amendments that change the way the Supreme Court is structured. According to the new Constitution, if the acting justice is not in good behavior, the President can replace the justice of the Supreme Court with another individual who is fit for the job. Subsequently, the justices will no longer enjoy absolute immunity, will be able to be impeached and tried for not being in good behavior. This new set of laws have raised questions about any future changes that may happen to the current composition of the Supreme Court. Will President Rain use his new authority to shuffle the once untouchable members, and if so, would that mean we'll see a pro-Rain court after living under pro-Sol court? Whatever the case might be, we are all wondering what will happen to the Supreme Court and the new balance structure that may be formed in the government. And from the Radical, new Constitution grants President Rain sweeping new powers. On Friday, the Supreme Court voted in favor of President Rain's constitutional amendments and effectively changed the Constitution of 1929. While the new Constitution takes away the Supreme Court's right to vote on constitutional changes, it also grants President Rain sweeping new powers. These new powers will allow President Rain to issue decrees on various political, social, and economic issues, which will have priority over statute law and are not subject to judicial review. As jubilant Rain supporters rallied in the big cities, many of the opponents of the changes either came together in groups to protest or made noises with pots and pans from the windows and balconies. Sordland's main opposition party, PFJP, said they would challenge the changes. There is still the same question in the minds of many. Are we entering an era of post-Solus authoritarianism? President Rain's tendency towards consolidation of power is not only troubling, but very dangerous. Awesome. Alright, we are well on the right track here. Alright, well, let's go meet up with the cabinet and discuss the results of the vote. Lucien stood upright, holding a large folder of files under his arm. He bowed in acknowledgement. He looked exhausted.
The cabinet has gathered in the White Room, sir. The Vice President will be opening the session soon. We can go in whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Lucien. You look tired. How are you holding up?
It is nothing, sir. I'm ready and able as always.
Are you sure? You can be honest with me.
I am always honest with you, sir. I'll admit this last year was tough. Especially all that lobbying work, but it's nothing to break me down, sir. Trust me, I'm fine.
He fixed his tie. Anything you want to say before we go in?
I only want to congratulate you again, sir. You wrote history.
I couldn't have done it without you. He slightly bowed his head. He gestured to the door.
I think we should go, sir. Vice President Vectrin must have started the session already.
Lucien held the door for me, and we both left the office for the White Room. We entered the room. Peter was speaking to the cabinet members who were already seated around the table. As soon as they noticed me, they all stood up. I gestured at their seats. Peter turned towards me. Everybody except him took their seats. He stood right next to my chair in the middle. And here is our president. He held out my chair for me to sit down and smiled. Please. I sat down. Peter walked to his seat and spoke, still standing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to discuss our current status and plan the remaining of our term. I know that some of you have had your concerns about the style of government so far. There will be a time to speak up about this in the meeting today. But I must also thank you all for your hard work so far. We are very lucky to have a team like this. All of you have been invaluable to this administration. Nia and Ciara grimaced at his remarks. Having said that, now we have reached a critical point of our term. We are nearing the end. We have successfully made change to the Scottish Constitution. This is a historic accomplishment. Without this team, it couldn't have been possible. Even though some people, even within our own administration, had hoped to see us fail in the court, we did succeed. The cabinet members started looking around the room. Peter glanced at Nia and Ciara, who were sitting next to each other. Let's not be a dick. Let's just look over at Peter. Peter held his eyes on the two women, an enigmatic smile on his face. The new constitution has brought us one step closer to the Scottish dream. We should be proud for having strengthened our democracy. Nia raised her hand. Mr. President, I wouldn't go as far as to claim we have strengthened our democracy. We know where the real power is gathered. Everyone in the room turned to look at Nia. Ciara put her hand on Nia's shoulder. The room fell silent for a few seconds. Peter broke the silence with a cough. You do not need to feel proud, Mrs. Mogna. Please let me finish. Nia did not respond. I kept listening. What a success with these changes brought with it great support. Our party, which was divided at the beginning of our term, is finally coming together once more. So, let's start the meeting with a brief look at some reports. He fumbled with the stack of papers in front of him. According to the latest polls, people seem to be content about the administration. The public opinion has not changed much. He took out a piece of paper from the stack and inspected it. Well, one of the most important factors for the people's contentment is the state of our economy. We have greatly slowed down the recession. I must thank Mr. Hall for his great work. Simon nodded with a dimpled smile. Peter turned to me. I'll give the word to the president now. He sat down. All right, Mr. Vice President, thank you for the opening. Everyone's eyes are focused on me. So, first, I want to hear brief reports from each ministry. Peter gestured at Simon and he immediately stood up. Mr. President, dear colleagues, Mr. Vice President was pretty on point with his summary of the current economic status. The recession is slowly getting under control. We still couldn't reach positive GDP growth. This year, the projected value is recorded as negative 4% growth. However, this is not reflected well with our debt situation. Our total national debt has increased to about 35 billion rand this year. If we enter a higher deficit over next years, we'll face a massive debt crisis, which could crash the economy. The Assembly is working on introducing new tax bills, which will generate more revenue for the government. These efforts will depend on the government deficit situation. On the other hand, unemployment reports indicate that we achieved a minimal increase in employment. It looks like we managed to cut it from 16% to 15%. Thousands were put back to work. He paused for a moment. That's good to hear. Are there any concerning developments? Well, one major concern is our nationalization decision. Our expenses have increased, and it did not send a very positive signal to the global and local market. I believe this will have negative effects on our growth. And unfortunately, the benefits from our first infrastructure project don't look to offset that loss. But apart from all that, I'll finish with an update on our latest project. The manager reported that everything's going well and very fast at the Sordland agricultural zone. I'll keep it brief for the sake of the whole meeting and end my report on that note. Thank you, Mr. Hole. Gus stood up as Simon sat down. He asked for private audience, which Cabinet respected. It was just the two of us in the room.
I'll keep it very brief, Mr. President. The L1 Railway has already proven to be a success. We've managed to bring food prices down in greater wholesale bills and regions. Our agricultural output has increased, and we're already seeing investments coming into rural areas. The trade deal with Valen increased our agricultural exports from the Merger region. Investments in the region have greatly increased our agricultural capacity. The investments also led to decreased homelessness and unemployment in rural Berja. With the completion of the Sarn agricultural zone, we expect to see Berja as a new economic powerhouse. Additionally, I bring good news regarding our investment. FC Honorca has seen a boost of ticket sales after your endorsement and participation in the club. The manager decided to send over a slice of that pie. The manager personally thanked you for the support you have shown to the team. Several players have already decided to join the USP. The money should be arriving in your account shortly. That'll be all for me.
Thank you, Mr. Manger. Gus invited the cabinet back in and sat down. Some were obviously opposed to such behavior. Next up was Pascal. Mr. President, there are currently no major problems within the Ministry of Health. We are currently investigating some reports of a small polio outbreak around a village called Hamir. I believe we can get into more details in our policy meeting. Thank you, Mr. Bennywall. Yosef stepped up.
The Ministry of Defense has a very important report regarding our situation with Rumberg. The investigation showed that Rumberg was in fact weaponizing rebels against our state. We have learned that they have been aiding the Bluish rebels in Valen too. Our military must stand ready for any possible attack coming from Rumberg. We have gathered the intelligence regarding the military research and production. They are building a massive army. We urgently need to increase our own military production. We cannot let them threaten us like this.
Make the necessary arrangements, Mr. Lancia. We'll have to use whatever we have to its limit.
Of course, sir.
David stood up. Mr. President, our relations with Agnolia have greatly improved. Our ministries have scheduled money jump projects together. I butchered that. Cooperation with Vale and Sordland has increased to a new level. However, we are seeing its negative impact with Lesbia. The region is very unstable. With the incident of Rumberg, Vale, and Helioland, we must be very cautious. We can talk in more detail at our foreign policy meeting. Thank you, Mr. Vichy. Ciara was next. Our ministry is working day and night to improve our education system and increase accessibility. It doesn't mean we're not plagued with problems. You are already aware of those. Lilius suddenly stood up. Mr. President, we have important equipment missing from several of our major police departments. We might need to implement some new measures soon. We will provide you with a more detailed report at a later date. Oh, and Mr. Greiser had a report for you regarding an investigation we want to look at. One last thing, I would like to transfer the Gendarmerie into the Ministry of Interior to improve the internal security efforts. I haven't heard of this before. I'm still working on the proposal and have eager backing for it. I was going to mention it later. The Ministry of Defense should be meddling with internal security affairs through the Gendarmerie. We had several instances where they were too violent too quickly, and it stems from military officers giving reckless orders at times. The military is always a little too harsh. And it results in more unrest. Our police forces are trained to remain calm and suppress protests. Will you transfer the Gendarmerie to the interior in the future? I can't make that promise. Yosef will be furious. That is unfortunate. Lilius smiled faintly. I might regret this, but do you have anything to share, Mrs. Borgna? Nia shook her head. Not at the moment, Mrs. President. You're already well aware of what's going on. I understand. Nia took her seat. Alright, well, next I'll make an important announcement. I've decided to form an alliance with the NFP. Some people look at me questioningly. Let's go soon. You heard me right. Our parties will form an alliance. We'll be joining the next elections together. Ciara clenched her jaw and stood up. You're treading on a very dangerous path, Mr. President. I don't want to hear opinion. It's a done deal. I can't believe this. She took her seat. Nice. Good typo. Anyway, Yosef cut in.
I disagree with Mr. Waldo. We have common values with the NFP. He is a rising figure in politics. Using his influence to not be bad. Let's not forget that they are still a much smarter party than us. We'd be the bigger partner in this.
Yosef is right. Think bigger. Ew, purple blood. I have no idea what that achievement is, but sweet. Yes, anyway, there's a brief silence. Next, I want to talk about our new focus, some of my plans going forward. Okay, so we need to focus on the economy. So, economy will be our number one priority until the end of our term. We'll aim to boost it further. Simon nodded in agreement. Okay, does it say... Doesn't really specify what to focus on here, but let's just go with that one. Sordland needs to become an economic powerhouse. Almost everybody seemed to be in agreement with me. If there are no comments, I want to talk about another plan. With the new laws, I can reshuffle the Supreme Court. I want a list of names. Houston put on his glasses to inspect the documents in front of him.
Yes, sir. I'll start working on it immediately.
He wrote on the document and put down his pen after. If there are no comments, let's move on with the meeting. Okay, never mind. I believe that's everything. Everybody packed up and I left the White Room. I went back to my office. Carl Greiser's waiting for me by the door.
Yeah, Mr. President. Can I have a moment of your time? I have something to discuss.
Of course, let's go inside. We entered my office. I went up to my desk and sat down in my chair. Please, have a seat, Carl.
Yeah, thank you, sir, but I'm fine. I'll not take long. The Secret State Police has compiled a report regarding the active investigations. We've been watching the opposition closely, just as you asked, and found a very complex web of connections. We found suspicious irregularities and indirect connections to the oligarchs. However, it is very difficult to make a legal argument against anything at this moment. Our investigation is still ongoing, but the process has proven very slow. Their tracks are very well covered.
Let's see. The guide says to ignore the statement and investigate as a whole. Right? Wait. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's what I need. We don't need a legal case to end them, Carl. That's why I have you.
Yeah, of course, sir.
But for now, just continue your investigations, Carl. We don't want unnecessary attention.
As you wish, sir. I'll give you an update soon. I'll also send you the detailed report of our previous findings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carl. He bowed his head and left the office. The last 2.5 years have gone by so fast. Ooh, nice. And another achievement. Awesome. Alright, we got +1 personal wealth there. So I think we got a couple reports in a newspaper and some more stuff in Whole Sword here. But we're going to have to save that for later. Yeah, so as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see y'all next time.